Hey guys, it's Holy to Boot, and I'm here with week 3 of the Succession Aftermath series, and I'm happy to talk about today the Maewha and Musa, and I'm also happy about it because both of these characters I've got at over 60, so it didn't mean I had to either go level them up or borrow, clips and stuff, so that was really good, especially over the Christmas period. Again, apologies for my voice. I really have just came out of having this horrible flu. I remember it was coming on last time video, so... oh, you know what, but anyway, we're here. So anyway, let's go in. I'm not going to talk about what Succession is, because you know about it. Or if not, go watch week 1 video and you'll see. So I'm just going to jump straight in to the Maehwa's video. So, let's go. So, the Maehwa. She's ditched the spear and she's gone back to the blade. And, yeah, again, it's pretty mixed. And I keep saying this, but this is what we're going to see, I think, for most classes going forward. There are some very common themes coming out here with the Succession. Firstly, the damage that the class is doing is very, very high. There is a lot of burst damage with this class. Now, it is worth saying, one of the things that the Maehwa works by, I'm pretty sure it's the move Decapitation. Every time you do this Decapitation, you get a buff, and it cycles. I can't remember the colours off my head, but basically you want to go to this red buff, and when you get this red buff, your damage seems to go through the roof, and it empowers the moves that you cast. So obviously it's more beneficial to cycle those and to do, to get that buff to do the damage. So that's sort of like the new mechanic now with the Maehwa with regards to the Succession. I keep wanting to say the pre-awaken, but I will say Succession. So that's how it's going to be. Now, as far as the AoE, I'm going to say the AoE is better on the premise that it's sort of wider than what the Awakening was, because the Awakening for the Maehwa did have okay AoE, but the biggest issue it had was a lot of it was sort of like, it was lateral out from the character, where now the Maehwa does have a bit more wider AoE, which is good. I think it's fairly on point to say that she is a lot easier to grind with now, and that is at pretty much all levels. I know that some people still prefer to grind with her very high-end spots with the Awakening, but again, it seems fairly split. A lot of people are just happy grinding with the Succession, and the reason why is because the Succession has such high nukes, and it is worth saying that the Succession will allow you to also do like a double DP shred as such. So with that in mind, double DP shred with these higher nuke abilities now means that for grinding high-end spots, especially if you've got the high AP as well, you will just smash through certain places. Like Hysteria now, I'm sure it'll be like sneezing. You just blow it all down. So that's pretty cool, and it's worth keeping in mind. Now, the other thing which for me it was a big thing, and it was a big thing because obviously I played so much time on the Musa, but going to the Maehwa and having the ability to sort of, when I say, like directional left click to do like a motion attack was massive, because obviously before, when you were in a awakened Maehwa, if you did left or right and a left click, you just do your little pokey move, which was wicked, but you felt very stationary. And for me, that was the biggest thing about playing the Maehwa now with the Succession, is that I felt like I could move again, and I really, really liked that. So that was really cool, and that's something that I'm sure a lot of people like, and it will be a lot more like new player friendly now because of this. So if you are a new player, definitely try out the Awakening. It is really, really cool, but I'd really suggest just having a dick around with the Succession, because it is so fun. It really is. Now, obviously, some of the things, like I said, it is nukey. A lot of the stuff is very nukey, and some people will say that the damage now feels slow. Now, a lot of that comes from the Awakening being almost the opposite. Yes, it did have the cool charge-up moves, which you don't have anymore, and I personally love the idea of charging up my big spear smash and fucking getting rid of everything in front of me, but that's obviously not the case anymore with the Succession, but, still. So a lot of people say it does feel slow in comparison, which is a bit of a shame, but that's something. Now, I'm sure the more experienced Maehwas will also comment on the fact that it may not feel like it flows as well. You're always going to get this in any game when combat slows down, and that's always going to be a big thing. If combat slows down, there's always a high chance then it will start to feel, clunkier. I don't want to say clunky because I don't think that's fair. I played it and I thought it was quite nice. I liked having the motion, but between those big hits, it can feel slow, and especially for the, obviously, I want to say for the people that know the class very well, because I can't say I do, so it's not fair for me to really give a really bad judgment on that, but this is just what I've been told, that it doesn't feel like it flows, so fair play. So it is worth saying that there is going to be a lot of play style change. I'm going to say also more so than probably some of the other successions that have came out, and that's mainly because of this concept now of managing your, your three. I'm pretty sure it's decapitation buffs. Someone's going to say in the below where I've got that wrong, but managing those correctly to output the most damage, that's going to be like a big deal. So that's going to be like the biggest thing about a playstyle. It is quite nice because it means it will put an additional sort of like higher skill cap on the class, which obviously is something that everyone likes when they play classes, especially the higher end players love having something where they can do a better skill cap. So it's probably worth saying that this is something that may get a bit dull for certain people. It might not, but it's as it is. Anyway, let's jump into the pros and cons list. So as far as the pros, let's just start off by first saying it has this sideways movement. I know this might just be for me, but I think a lot of people will like this. And again, for new people coming on to play the class, it just makes the class feel more... I'm going to be counterintuitive because I'm going to complain about the flow in a second, but it does make it feel better having sideways movements with attacks. It does have a double DP shred, which is very nice. It has very high burst damage, which you can do, and the AoE genuinely is better than what it was before. Sorry, knocking over my wards there, so I'm trying to keep lubricated, so I keep talking. And it is easy to grind with, and that's important, but that's the same with all successions so far. Now, as far as the cons, the drawbacks, the damage can feel slow. It's going to feel like you're doing big hit, big hit, big hit, rather than how it was with the Awakening, where it was just constant, like bang, 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 and also, how that is. So for a lot of people, that's going to feel strange. And because of that slow damage, it's going to feel like for a lot of people that they've lost their flow. And that is also going to be a really big problem to some people who are really into the Maehwa class. And it's fair to say then, for some people, losing the spear and the aesthetics that came with the spear, even though they did give you Sticky Snowflake or the version of it with your succession, that's going to be a shame because the Maehwa had some absolutely stunning visuals. So it is a shame that they're going to be gone. And like I said, the playstyle is going to change. I'm going to put that as a negative, even though that could be technically seen as a positive, but let's put it for now as having a negative. But so still, what I personally think, a lot of people are going to like this. For grinding, I'm pretty sure that the succession is just going to come out on top, just because that seems like the overall thing. Maybe at high-end stuff, the Awakening will probably still be fine, but all in all, hey, I think the succession is probably going to be going forward with grinding. As far as PvP, I imagine, well, at the moment, I know that the moves seem like, it's not, I don't say it's necessarily broken, but it's super strong in PvP. In fact, let's just add that on the bottom as a positive. The 1v1 capability of this class at the moment is better than what it was, just because of how, like, one, the moves are a bit more protected, but you've got so much burst, so that's obviously going to come through in PvP. So, there you go. That's my review of the Maehwa so far. And the Musa. This is a class which obviously I spent a lot of time on and really, really like the Awakening. So I thought this was going to have to be very, very good to get me to like this and enjoy it. And you know, it did deliver. I have some thoughts on it, obviously, which I'll bring out, but let's go over the general sort of overview of it. Again, the damage of the skills that you're going to get are very high. What you're seeing in the background is me with not that much gear on, to be fair, and it is shredding, even though I randomly somehow teleport up into the sky. Anyway, ignoring that. But yeah, you're back to this basic style of playing. And to be fair, a lot of Musas still did quite a lot of the pre-awakening stuff that you do now before anyway. Maybe there's a couple of other moves you didn't do as much, but you had the option. Now, what is really cool about how the Musa plays, just as the Maehwa, you cycle through those buffs, the Musa, did I say Musa before Maehwa? Anyway, the Musa now is when you do certain moves like Dragon Bite, for instance, you'll empower yourself being able to do, I can't remember what it's called, it's like, I'm just going to call it the blue buff now, and you get a blue buff. Now, when you have this blue buff, you can cast one of your other spells or abilities, and it will be empowered. So, for instance, Blooming, you know how before you used to be able to do the additional bit of Blooming where it would do, not Blooming, well, technically, yeah, we'll go with Blooming, because even then, Phantom, Phantom, sorry. So you go with Phantom, because obviously you could go Phantom Blooming. If you did that, and you had the blue buff, it now puts some range on it, and it will stun, which is really cool. And if you did the whirlwind move, I can't remember off the top of my head now. I'm going to blame this on my cold, so I do apologise. You'll see it in the video behind. You'll see these big blue tornadoes that come out. So the AoE goes huge on that, and the damage also goes up as well, which is really, really cool. And it's easy to do these back to back. So in theory, if you wanted to do, I'm pretty sure I keep saying blooming, and I really don't mean to, but either way, if you want to do it's blooming. If you want to do blooming backwards, you can literally dragon bite blooming. I can't remember the other moves that do it off as well off the top of my head, but you can literally keep doing it back to back, and the damage is incredible. And then you have a lot of CC with it as well. It is worth noting as well, which is really cool from the Awakening. If people played the Awakening before, obviously all like the SAs and frontal guards got called from every class, you used to be able to do your forward F engage, which was when you charged in. You now have that with your succession, but it has a frontal guard. So you technically now have a better sort of safe engage as well. So you still have the option to be going around. You can still have the option to do Dragon Bite. You can still have the option to do your bow strikes. But now you also have that ability as well to go in and to get the CC off. So that is quite cool to have that back. And I personally liked that when I was playing around with it. Now, from my personal preference on this one, and I have to admit, I didn't get as much feedback from the community as I probably should on this. I did stick with a lot closer just in guild and other people. I felt like it flowed, but that's because I was used to playing a lot of pre-awakening anyway on the Musa. I know some people aren't and weren't a massive fan of the pre-awakening on the Musa, but I always quite liked it. I thought it was quite fun, and it was nice to have those moves do the damage again, which is pretty nice. Now, it is easy to grind with. Hey, look at this. This is like every other, succession. It is easy to grind with, though I put a little caveat to that. For lower end grinding, I'd still suggest sticking with the Awakening, because actually your AoE, even though it has bumped up the AoE of a couple of moves, is not as big as when you have your Awakening. Because let's be fair, the Musa Awakening had some disgusting AoE, and it was madness. So it's not a surprise that they've they couldn't really match that without it getting absolutely broken. So you have to keep that in mind. That is worth noting. Now, saying that, because obviously I've just said it's better to go Awakening for lower end stuff. For higher end stuff, or specifically if you want to do Hysteria or Skyria, however it's pronounced, you want to go Succession just because of how the damage is. Anywhere else, and this probably even includes Star's End as well, just because of obviously the fact that you can do your back attacks, and you can do like the F cancel, for instance, with the crystals. You probably want to go stay Awakening. So this one is probably a lot more close, sort of back and forth between what people are going to be fair. So it wouldn't surprise me if I actually still see a lot of Awakened Musas. I feel like this is, I don't want to say it's going to be more, because I think it's been a lot more like 50-50 or more swayed towards Succession, but I think this might be the one where a lot of Musas actually stick with the Awakening, or might even just have a little break for a bit, just because, they love their Awakening, and it was quite a big thing. But it is worth noting, like I said, I do think you've got like safer engages now, which is nice. So going away from the Awakening, we're going to lose that amazing crescent blade, which is so cool. You're going to miss some really cool things, cross cushion, below the belt, and more importantly, foul play. Now, I say foul play because a lot of people who do endgame Musa plays in PvP and group PvP as well, Node Wars, will know that a well-placed foul play will absolutely decimate a group. Now, you're not going to have that anymore. So as far as in big group plays, I think you'll probably want to stick with the Awakening. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm 100% sure that the Succession Musa will have its place within like the Node War scene, and you'll be a lot more like assassinating type role with it. But for the people that like to go and do the big AoE and damage kills, I think they're going to stick with the Awakening. I really do. But we'll see. Again, this is just from what I've seen and how I feel about the class. I have just said it's not so good for the lower end spots, but that's down to the AoE. You're just going to lose this massive AoE, and it is huge. So let's just quickly put this in the pros and cons list just to wrap this up nicely, as I like to do. Pros: it has very high damage, which is nice. You are back to your basic style of play, which for a lot of people will like, and it does feel nice and fluid. Powering up moves with your blue buff can get some really nice damage and make it sick, and it can change the way it plays slightly, which is really fun. It is better at grinding like some at high-end places. Like if we say Skyrim being the absolute high-end, it is better for that, and you do have safer engages. Now, as far as the cons, you know, for lower APs and lower-end grinding spots, you know, you want to stick with the Awakening. It is better. You're going to miss a huge amount of AoE. The AoE from the Awakening of Musa was just amazing and unparalleled. You're going to lose that, so take that away as being potentially bad. And also, you're going to lose foul play. So yes, I do think Succession is going to be much better in 1v1s, but in group PvP, I think losing that AoE is going to be a big turn off to a lot of people. So keep that in mind. So this is one where I think the trade-offs are really strong, and I think the Awakening might pull ahead for a lot of people. But anyway, that's my view on it so far. So let's do the usual wrap up, and it's going to be a little bit different here from the first two, and I'm quite happy to say this. So I'm going to start off by Musa, because this is the first one where I'm really going to say this for the Succession so far. You're kind of better with the Awakening, it seems, for PvE anyway. Taking away Hysteria, I'm just getting the Abyssal Ruins now. I cannot be bothered to keep saying Skyrim or whatever's name wrong. So yeah, this is the first time where actually I'd say the Awakening isn't better the Succession isn't better for grinding. The Maehwa, I'd say it is better in general with the Succession. Some people will prefer the Awakening potentially at higher AP. But yeah, so this is the first time that's going to be the case. Now, it does make sense considering the Succession is supposed to almost fill gaps in where the class is. And with the Musa being sort of like a top tier grinder, with Awakening, that really didn't surprise me that, you know, I didn't think it was going to get better, put it that way. And, you know, it didn't really. I did think it might need a bit of help with sort of like the places like Abyssal, and it has done that. So yeah, that I guess that makes sense. But yeah, so this is the first time where I'd say this hasn't been just a straight line as such between Succession and Awakening. Now, it's clear to say once again that both classes have trade-offs. I'd say in this case the Musa has them more though. There's more so with the Musa, and that's just because of, you know, this sort of huge AoE that you're going to be lacking now when you go to take your Succession over what you had before. And that's, you know, that's going to be the same in PvP as well. Maehwa's a little bit better. Now, let's be fair, the gaps are really starting to form now. I said it might happen, it really is. Look at the Maehwa. I mean, Maehwa in a 1v1 now, and considering when I did my rankings video, I had the Maehwa quite low. The Maehwa is just blowing people up now. And yes, you know, you still got to think of, well, if she gets grabbed and stuff, but let's get past that. She's looking disgusting at the moment. In a 1v1, she will just blow you up. The damage seems very, like, too loaded, which is great. Well, maybe not great, we'll see. Last thing, obviously, the Successions haven't made Awakening redundant. I say this every video, and Musa is the prime example of this. The Musa will keep its, you know, its Crescent Blade because it will grind with it and still be god tier grinding at a lot of places. A lot of other classes have been brought up to that tier, but hey, that's not the case just yet. Anyway, thank you very much for watching the video. I do appreciate it. I still have this horrible thing flash on the screen saying please like and subscribe. I really do appreciate if you can do those things. It just helps me make more videos. It really motivates me. You know, I don't think I need to keep giving you the spiel, but no, thank you very much for listening once again. When this comes out, it is slightly after Christmas, obviously, because I want to take the Christmas time off. I hope you had a great Christmas, great holidays. I do have a couple more videos before New Year hits in, or one video before New Year hits in, hopefully, if I can do it on time, and I have one for New Year's Day, which hopefully will be fun, but all depends on my voice. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Have a great time off if you're having time off and great holiday. Anyway, take care, guys. Bye.